Few books have the potency of what I will show you, or what I'm talking about. And yes, this is as such a book review, but my rather worn copy of Derek Robinson's Piece of Cake. Now, years and years ago, when I was doing work experience in High Wycombe, and this would have been 2001, there was a tidy little second-hand bookshop on up the hill from the town centre, and it's since become a Reading shop, and now I think it's a taxi shop. But either way, I used to go in there even after I finished work experience, and you can get books relatively cheaply. I think this cost me £1. And the beauty of the second-hand bookshops is I often go in them and look at them and think, well, I want X, Y, and Z book or a certain author, and then sometimes I'll just buy a book second-hand because it intrigued me. That's how I got Len Dayton's SSGB, for example. And Piece of Cake intrigued me because I've always been into the Battle of Britain, and if you see my history fits, you see, and it was second-hand to begin with, but now it's being held by Sellotape, and it follows a squadron, Hurricane Squadron, from when the war starts through to September 1940. So a year, and there's no chapters as such, and it's broken down into months, and it goes from September to February 40. One chapter represents February to April, and then after May 40 it skips June and July and goes to August. And you get these characters of Hornet Squadron, and they all have nicknames because it has an undergraduate feel to it, Fire Command. And it's interesting how from September to April, in the first 300 odd pages, you see the pilots go. You introduce the pilots, you get a feel for them. They go over to France after war's declared. They set themselves up in a chateau not too far from the German border. They have love affairs and mess about and cock about, and there's rivalries, and one of the characters is a little shit, Moggy. Others are quite, and you get a feel for them. Two of them get married. Then one pilot's killed in November 39 in an accident, and then all of a sudden May 1940 bursts upon the book, the invasion of France by Germany, and all of a sudden the feel of it changes. They're being kicked across France like all the other squadrons were, and some of them don't make it, but then some of them fall in the Battle of Britain. And yeah, I've read it a few times now, and each time it's incredible how Derek Robinson brings the characters through. There are some obviously that make it to the end, and I'm not going to name names if you were thinking of reading it. And there's some that you think are going to make it but don't. But it's the reality of the Battle of Britain. Since I've read the book, and indeed a little time before I read the book, it's a realistic depiction of the summer of 1940, and it got hell apparently at the time it came out. I think it was the late 70s, early 80s, of being rather inaccurate, but pilots were like these chaps, and it's incredible how, as the battle wore on, it was a case of that the older heads didn't really want to talk to the replacement pilots, get to know them, become friends with them as such, because they could be dead by the afternoon. There were cases of pilots turning up relatively inexperienced, because as the battle wore on, they were cutting corners in training and were killed as soon as within an hour of arriving at the airfield, and other pilots never even knew who they were or that they were there. So that's what makes Piece of Cake all the more affecting. It's more than a war novel. It's a story of men and what happens when you go through such things. Like, you have like a half a dozen or so characters like Fitz, Flash, Sticky, Moggy, Fanny, Mother, Moke and Flip, and Pip, to use their nicknames. And then all of a sudden it starts to fray. You know, little poor old Dickie Starr's killed in November 39, as I say, and then the invasion starts in May 40, and pilots have been in a chapter, and yeah. So if you want any book about the Battle of Britain and you're not in the mood to sit for a history book, then Piece of Cake is the book to end all books on the Battle of Britain. I don't think it'll ever be bettered, and it's a book I hold quite fondly, actually. So that's your Piece of Cake review.